Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Rudra and today we are continuing Python programming series. In previous lecture number 9, we talked about object-oriented programming. So I hope you have revised the previous lecture and practiced some question on it and the concepts are clear to you. If you are still facing some problems, you can always rewatch the lecture and do some question practice so that the concepts are clear. In today's lecture, we will be studying file handling. Okay, lecture number 10, file handling. We'll start with what is file handling and why we are studying file handling, and topics how to open a files, reading files, writing a file, appending to files, and CSV files, file modes. So without wasting any time, let's continue with the lecture. Now, the first question should be what is file handling and why? So, file handling is a process of creating, opening, reading, writing, and closing files using a program so that data can be permanently stored on disk and reused later, even after the program has finished running. So, file handling basically, if you want to create data, open a file, create files, write in a file, close it without actually writing a file in a program. Okay, so with the help of coding, if you want to do all that, then you can directly do that using file handling. Why file handling is needed? Permanent storage. Variables and data in a program only exist while it is running. Once it ends, everything in memory is lost. Files let data persist even after the program closes. So in this, whatever you will write, it will be permanently stored, right? Data sharing. Files allow data to be stored between different programs or between different runs of the same program. Handling large data too large to comfortably fit in memory can be processed piece by piece from file. So if you are creating like whenever you download a game and whenever you extract the files, then you would have seen there are multiple folders, and in those multiple folders there are multiple files. So basically that game is processed that game is divided into different pieces and in different files, stored in different files, and when you play the game, so the whole game runs. So that's how in real life it works. You might have seen that example if you have downloaded any games such that. Login and records. Programs use files to store logs, reports, configuration settings, and user data. Examples: saving a game progress, storing user records. So these are real life examples. Common real world use: reading configuration files, saving application data, processing datasets, CSV, text logs, and generating reports. So these are what's and whys of file handling. Okay, so now without wasting any time, let's deep dive into the first topic on how to open a file. If there is a file, then how will you open it in your system? If there is a file, so using program, how will you open it? Before reading from or writing to a file, it must first be opened using Python's built-in open function, which returns a file object that is used to interact with the file. So first, before reading or writing, you should first open the file. So which file to open and what type of file it is, this is the syntax. Okay, this is the mode. So for example, you can see here file open, you are opening the file. Which file you are opening? Notes.txt, and R here represent you are opening it in reading mode. Okay, so in read mode you are opening it. So print, now you have stored the data file in this variable, now you print the file. So all the whatever that file contains, all the content of the file will be printed. And file dot close, after opening the file always close the file. Okay, so that's how it is. Key points: the first argument to open is the file name or full path. The second is the mode, what you intend to do with the file, read, write, append, etc., covered in detail later. So If the file is in same folder as your Python script, just the file name is enough. Otherwise, provide the full or relative file path. So here, if that file is in the same folder, okay, you might have heard folder contains many files. So if it the folder is same, then just file name is enough. But if folders are different, okay, so you have to first give the location of that folder in which file is, like you use backslash, right? Like that. That's how you will use. Then you will name file name, write the name of the file, first folder, then file. That's how you will. It is important to close a file after you are done with it to free up system resources and make sure all data is properly saved. Though the with statement covered ahead handles this automatically and is the preferred approach. So with statement, here with statement is not there, but we will see what the with statement. If you are opening with a with statement, then it is automatically handle the closing of the file. So that's the preferred approach. If the file doesn't exist and you try to open it in the read mode, Python raises a file not found error. So this is the error that will show if the file doesn't exist. Okay, so it might come in MCQs like what error happens when the file does not exist in the folder. So this error will pop up. Now after opening the files, we will do reading. So how to read a file? Reading a file means retrieving the data stored inside it into your program, so it can be used, displayed, or processed. Python provides several methods to read file content in different ways. Common reading methods: first is read, reads the entire file content as a single string. Okay, read n reads only the first n characters. So if you want to read first the 10 characters, then it will read the 10 characters. Read line reads a single line from the file. Read lines read all the lines and return them as a list of strings. Okay, so here assume a file notes.txt contains the following three lines. So this text file contains these text, these data, and if you read them print, so these will be output, these will be read with read. You are reading means the whole data will be printed. Read line, if you are using read line, then line by line it will be printed. Okay, read line the first line, then read line again, then second line. Read lines, if you do that, then it will be printed in forms of list. So in case of read, it prints the whole data or the content of the file in form of string, like as it was written. If you are using read lines, so that's the difference between read lines and read lines will give the output in form of list. All the lines will be elements of the list and output will be a list. As you can see, it is a list. Reading line by line using a loop, most common approach. So you can also read line by line for line in file print like this. You can do that as well. Different four methods to read. You can choose to do it as per the requirements, as per the problem. Okay, so I hope all the ways to read a file is clear to you. Now let's see what are some key points. Each line read from a file includes new line character backslash n at the end, except possibly the last line. Dot strip is commonly used to remove it. Looping directly over a file object for line in file is a memory efficient since it reads one line at a time instead of loading the whole file at once. Useful for very large files. Okay, if the files are large, then if you use read, then what it does, it loads the whole file at once. Okay, but if you use for, then it does line by line, so that's why it's memory efficient. If the files are of 10 GB, 15 GB, like that, 2 3 GB, then it's convenient to use. Though generally that large files are not made, but still, for larger files you just need to remember that loop is much preferred. Now after reading, you can also write in the file without opening that file directly using programming. Writing to a file means saving new data into it. Python writes and write lines these two functions methods are used for this, and the file must be opened in a mode that allows writing like W. So before it was R reading mode, now you will use W, which is writing mode. Example, write with mode W. So you opened a file output.txt with W. It means you want to write in it. Now you use file.write. Hello, this is my first file. Write. Okay, backslash n for next line. Okay, backslash n is used for next line. Okay, file writing a second line. Okay, then you close the file. Opening a file in W mode overwrites the entire existing content of the file if it already exists. This is one of the most common beginner mistakes, so always be careful with mode W. So keep this point in mind. Okay, writing multiple lines from a list. So new mode, if you want to write multiple lines in it, in the form of list, then you can do so here. Okay, so these will be written, all the elements of the list are lines, and they will be written with the help of write lines. Key points to focus on here: write does not automatically add a new line after each call. You must include backslash n manually if you want the next line to start on a new line. Like if these are the contents, right? Here backslash n is there because in the file actually we want to write first line, then second line in second line, and third line in third line. But if backslash n would not be there, then all of the whole content will be written in one line only. So that's why backslash n is used here. If the file is specified in open does not already exist, mode W will automatically create a new file. So mode in case of reading, the file is not automatically created, but if in writing mode, the file will be created a new file. Okay, write lines writes a list of string to the file one after another without adding line breaks automatically. They must already be included in each like above. So keep the last point in mind. Now let's see the next method. Next method is appending to files. Appending means adding new data to the end of the existing. So we were talking about appending. Appending means adding new data to the end of existing file without deleting or overwriting the data that's already there. This is done using mode A. So append for mode A is there. Okay, this will write at the end. Okay, this will be added at the end. Write versus append. Quick comparison. So what is the difference between write and append? Write erases all existing content, then writes new content. Okay, so if you use write, then the existing content will be deleted and new content will be written. Append keeps existing content and adds new content at the end. So that is the main difference. Key points: appending is useful for things like log files when you want to keep adding new entries over time without losing previous one. Just like mode W, mode A will also create the file if it doesn't already exist. So only read mode R doesn't create a new file. Both modes will create new file if it doesn't exist. Now with statement, we studied a little bit about with statement in this lecture earlier on. Now we'll study in detail what does it mean. The with statement is recommended way to work with files in Python. It automatically closes the files for you once its blocks of code finishes, even if an error occurs. So you never have to remember to call close manually. So if you are using with statement, it automatically closes. That's its benefit, and that's why it is preferred. So with open as file, okay, statement file is automatically closed here after the block ends. With open as file, content file dot read print content, here it is printed. Okay, key points: the with statement is considered best practice for file handling in Python. It's cleaner, safer, prevents accident, leaving file open when can cause data loss or resource leak. Even if an error exception happens while working with the file inside the block, with still guarantees the file gets closed properly. The variables after as example file is only valid to actively read write from inside the indented block. After the block ends, the file is already closed. So this indentation is very important. Okay, here as it is written. From this point on, always prefer with open over manually calling open and close. So with open is preferred here. That's the preferred way of writing. So you are also advised to do it this way. Syntax will be a little bit different, might be a little bit complex for you, but it's readable and it prevents us from any error or mistakes, so data loss. So that's why it's preferred. File modes. The mode passed to open tells Python exactly what you intend to do with the file. Read, write, append, or a combination, and whether to treat it as a text or binary data. So different modes are there. R read default opens for reading, error if file doesn't exist. Okay, so file doesn't exist, it will show error. W for write opens for writing, creates file if missing, override if it exists. So write helps us writing a file if the file doesn't exist. You wrote a name of the file and that doesn't exist, so it will create a new file of that name. And whatever, if the file already exists and that file has some content, then it will erase that content and write new content in it, whatever you write in it. A for append opens for writing at end, create file if missing, keep existing content. Is how it is different from write. The append is different from write because it doesn't delete the already existing data, it just add new data at the end. X exclusive create creates a new file, raises an error if the file already exists. So for creating a file. R plus read and write opens for both reading and writing, error if file doesn't exist. W plus write and read opens for both, overwrites existing content. A plus append and read opens for both, keeps existing content, writes at the end. P binary mode used with other modes, example RB, VB for non-text files like images. T text mode used with other modes, example RT for regular text files. So these are all type of modes. Few key points: if no mode is specified in open, Python defaults to RT, read text mode. Text mode T is used for regular text-based file txt.csv.py. Binary mode P is used for non-text files like image, audio, and video. Choosing the correct mode matters. Example, using W instead of A by mistake can permanently erase existing important data. So now, what are CSV files? CSV files are comma separated values is a simple, widely used text file format for storing tabular data, rows and columns, where each line represents a row and value with a row are separated by commas. Python's built-in CSV module makes it easy to read and write CSV files properly. So example CSV file student.csv. So that's how it is written. Age comma name comma age comma city, Amman 21 Delhi, like this. So reading a CSV file, import CSV. This is the example. Now we will open the CSV file and we will just read the CSV file. So here it is written. So we are opening the file, we are reading it, okay, storing this file in this and using the loop to read it, okay, like this. This is the output. Now writing a CSV file, importing, we wrote the data like this in rows and columns form like this. Open the file, write it, okay. This is the syntax, csv.writer file, okay, and we wrote the routine. The new line here, as you can see here, the new line here it is written. The new line argument is important on some systems, especially Windows, to prevent the CSV module from inserting extra blank lines between rows. Key points: always import CSV before using CSV related function. It is a built-in module, so no installation is needed. CSV.reader gives each row as a plain list. CSV.hictReader gives each row as a dictionary, using the first row as the key. Column header often more convenient to work with. So focus on these methods. CSV.writer and its dot writer row, single row, and here as you can see, write rows, multiple rows. So here it is single rows and here it is multiple rows. Methods handle the comma separating and formatting automatically, which is safer than manual building comma separated strings yourself. CSV files are extremely common for exporting and important data from spreadsheets like Excel, and are widely used in data analysis. So which CSV files about are done. Lecture 10 theory part is finished. So lecture 10 file handling, this is all the theory part in file handling. Easier compared to object oriented programming, I will say. Pretty easy to understand. So without wasting any time, let's focus on. I have some practice question for this module 10 file handling practice question. So because since the theory part was not that big, let's continue with the practice and practice all these theories and understand here. Okay, so let's do that. We'll start the practice module. So let's continue with the practice questions. So first question, question number 1 is reading a file. Create a text file named notes.txt and write a few lines in it. Write a Python program to open the file and display the entire content. So very basic question, conceptual question to understand the syntax and stuff. I will encourage you to do it yourself without any help. It should be easily doable. So I have created already a file for lecture number 10. Now it is saying us to create a new file for to read that file. So notes.txt, I think. Okay, so we created the notes.txt file. We'll write something in it. What do you write? My name is Rudra. I am 19 years old. I am teaching Python programming. Okay, so we have written some content in notes.txt file. So we'll go back to the lecture number 10. Now what we have to do, question according to the question. We have created the lecture, writes few lines in it. We have written few lines in it. Write a Python program to open the file and display the entire content. So we have to open the file. So you can, there are two ways to open the file. You can just use simply open, and you can open with the help of with open. Okay, so with open is recommended, so we'll do that. With open. Now what we used to write, we used to write two things here. Try to remember. First one was name of the file, so notes.txt. Okay, so notes.txt is done. Now what we write, we used to write mode here, like what are we doing with the file. So we are just reading according to question, so I'll write r as file. Now we'll get the content of the file, file dot read So after this, we have read the file because we have opened with this syntax, with syntax, so we don't need to close it. We'll just what do, we'll just print content. Okay, so that's that. This is question 1. So that was question 1. Now let's see if it does prints. Let me close all the previous terminals so that you can properly see. So here, as you can see, what was written in notes, without, if there was note, if I have opened the notes txt file here, but we don't need to see the notes txt file to see what's written in it. As you can see, the content is printed here on the terminal. Okay, so first question is complete. Let's comment that out. So it's commented out. Now moving on, let's talk about question number 2. Now after reading the file, question number 2 asks us to write to a file. Okay, so write a Python program that asks the user for their name and age. So we have to first take input as well, so name and age, then store the information in a named student.txt. Example file content, name to age 20. So like this, we have to first take input. So you should by now know how to take input from the user, and then we have to use the write functions in Python to write in that file. I hope the question is clear to you. Pretty easy question, pretty simple question, basic. Question 2. So first we have to take input, name and age, right? Enter your name. Then we have to create a variable called age, and we have to take input for age. Enter your age. So as you can see, now what we have to do, we have to write, right? We have to write in the file. Whatever the user enters, we have to write that into a file. So since we are writing, let's try to see if we don't have student.txt. So we will see in this if the new file is created or not. As you have already studied, if we write and file doesn't exist, then it creates a new file. So let's see if it works out or not. Student.txt. What mode we are doing, we are using the write. So we'll write w as file. Now we will write the syntax to write it. File dot write. That's how you do it. Name plus name the variable, this variable name, version, age plus. Okay, so we have written the statement for writing in the file. Now we will print student information saved successfully, because what you will show to user, it will show that user has entered the name age, and no notification will go to the user, but you want to provide the notification, right, that whatever the user has entered has been saved. So that's why we are writing this statement here, print statement. So let's see, let's run, let's see if new file is created. Okay, so keyboard interrupt. Okay, so here it is enter your name, age, student information saved successfully. Let's see, as you can see here in the where all the files explorer, student text file has been created. So as you can see here, I think there was a, it will not be in the closed brackets, I think. Let's write again. I think this time as well it will show some error, some kind of error. Okay, so what can, we'll do the same. As you can see, you can run it again, and we have seen before that if you write something new in it, so write, what does write, overwrites, right? Here you can see, if I say this, so if we go to the student file again, okay, so now it's like this. Okay, so name Rahul, is this, okay, so like that. So where were we are doing this student file here. So as you can see, earlier it was in this, it is showing this type of error. It's showing because there is a syntax error. Everyone makes mistakes sometimes. It is not a backslash but a forward slash. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, now if you do that, now it should be correct. Now if you enter, if you look into, so now in different lines as it is supposed to be written, now it's showing. Okay, so you can run it again, give new entries, any entries like this. So you can see that first Rudra and Mai was written, now it's completely deleted and new data is written. So that's why you have to keep in mind when to use write and when to not use to write, when to use append. Okay, so it all this question, it is also showed that if the student, we didn't create, first time we created the notes.txt file, the second time we didn't create the student.txt file, it was automatically created. So that's that. We can comment out the whole part, and we'll start new question number 3. Now let's see what does question number 3 says. Question number 3, we have to append. Okay, so we have done read, we have done write. Now it's turn to append. Create a file named shopping.txt. Write a program that asks the user to enter a new shopping item and add it to the existing file without deleting the previous item. Example, milk, bread, apples. If the user enters egg, the file should become. So the file should already contain this text. So without any wasting time, easy basic question. So first we have to create a file. What was the name of the file? Shopping.txt. So we'll go here, new file. Shopping.txt, and in which we have to write milk, bread, apples. Bread, apples. So we've written this content in this shopping tag txt file. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to append eggs. Okay, so creating a file, now we have to do what we have to append that data in the file at the end. So first we have to take input the items that we want to add. So we have taken input from the user. Now we will write the statement for appending. First we have to open the file always. Now we'll write the statement to write in the file. This is how you do it. New line, for new line syntax is this. Append is done. Now you have to just print the item added successfully. So like this. Okay, so here as you can see there are 3 items. Without writing in that file, we'll run this program. Delete the existing, but you have clear extent. Understand. So enter an item. What did we have to enter? Eggs. So we entered item success, item added successfully. You will go into shop. As you can see, eggs are entered. Something else. Potato. Enter. So it is added, and as you can see, existing, nothing happens to the already existing data. Okay. So in append, you have to do it like this. Okay. So there is that. If you want to run it again, add something else. Okay, sorry, I am running different. Now it should run. Add whatever, like tomato, keyboard interruption. As you will see, it is added. So easy question on append. Question number 3 is also done. File handling is quite easy. Okay, a little bit you have to take care of the syntax. Just do 5, 6 questions, 10 questions on file handling, and you will be good to go. So question number 3 is done. 2 questions more left. Let's comment out this whole part. So as you can see in the first 3 questions, what we learned from the first 3 questions. First question, we read the file. Okay, so before reading the file, the file should already exist. Okay, note what was already existing, notes.txt. I created that file. That's why it was working. If I delete this file, okay, let's do this. Let's delete this file. Wait a second, I'll delete it from here. So if I delete it, okay, if I delete it completely, and we don't comment it out, so like this, then if we will run it, then it will say error, file not found error. So it is very important. So in first question we learned that for reading the file should already exist. That's that. Okay, in second question we were writing in a file, but what does writing do? It write if the file is in during the student.txt. Okay, so if the file is not there, then it will automatically create a new file. If the file does not exist, if the file exists, then if you add something to it, it will erase the data before and add new data. And then question number 3, append comes, in which you just add the data at the end. Okay, so you just add new data at the end, which is very helpful. So always be cautious when to using write, when to using append. According to your requirements, you should do that. So question number 3 till question number 3, I hope you got all the concept all the doubts are cleared related to read, write and append. Now let's move on to question number 4. Now what is question number 4? Count lines in a file. So create a text file named story.txt, contain multiple lines. Write a Python program using the with statement to read the file and count how many lines contains. So this is the example. We will do that. So easy question with open. Now we are reading the file here. Okay, so for reading the file should already exist. So I have to create a new file, story.txt. So now story.txt has been created. Now we can continue with our program. Now this is a little bit of logical. Okay, so in the question what you have to do, you have to count the how many lines it contains. Okay, either you can use, I think you can use a loop sometimes to do it as well, but there is a logical way to do it, easier and logical way, which is, what does read line do? There is a read line do reads the whole file line by line, and read lines, what does it do? It creates a list of all the lines. So if the list of all the lines are created, okay, so if you find the length of the list, how many elements are in the list, then you will automatically get how many lines are there in the text. So that's the logic behind what I am doing. So that's why we are using read line here. Okay, so question number 4, this part is completed. Right now there is nothing in story.txt, so for once let's check what does happen if there is nothing. So number of lines is 0. If you write something in it like what was written before, Python is easy. So let's see. Python is easy. So you write one line in it. First let's see in one line. So number of lines is 1. Then what is the second line? Python is powerful. So you go in it, you write Python is powerful. So number of lines change, it becomes 2. Now you can go again. I am learning Python. I am learning Python, full stop. Always. So there are 3 lines. You can write many things like I started my Python journey 1 month ago. Then you can write in the first lecture I learned about basic of Python, history of Python, and coding environments like VS Code. Okay, so here is the deadline. Then you can say in lecture 2 I In lecture 2, I studied about variables, data types, and variables and data types. Then in lecture 3, I studied about operators. Currently, in this lecture, I am studying about file handling. Okay, I am solving question on how to find number of lines in any given time. So that's our content here. Okay, so let's see what does the output gives us. So we'll go here, we'll run the program. 10 lines, as you can see. Let me count: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Here this space, one gap also counts, so keep that in mind. If you give 2 3 spaces here in between lines, it counts the number of lines, not the lines in which there is content. Empty line are also content. Okay, so if you do it like this, so number of lines will automatically increase. So now if you run the program, so there are 17 lines now. Okay, so I hope this logic is clear to you, that how to find out number of lines. What you do, basically read lines. Read lines will give, what does read lines gives us? Read lines gives us, if you print here without the, let me show you. If you print here, print lines. Okay, so if you print lines here, then you will automatically see what does lines show us. Okay, so if you do that, then as you can see, it gives us a list of all the lines. Like one line is this, one line is space, then this second line, then third, then fourth, then five. It is in the list. All are elements of list. So length of this line will give us how many elements are there in the list, and that's how we get number of lines, which is 70. So question number 4 is completed. Moving on to the next question, question number 5. Create us, we have to read a CSV file. So create a CSV file, name is student.csv, students.csv containing this. So we have to create that. Write a Python program that reads the CSV file and display each student name and marks. Expected output like this. Okay, so name should be like this, like this, and like this. So output is given to you, so we have to do it like this. So first we have to create a CSV file, and this should be the content of it. So let's do that. Let's first comment out the question number 4. Question number 5. So what we have to do first, we have to create a CSV file. What was the name of the CSV file? Students.csv. Okay, so a CSV file has been created. here, as you can see. Now what can we do? We have to write this content unit name age marks. Name age marks. Okay, then we have to write Rudra 2085. Rudra 2085. Aman 1978. Aman 1978. Priya 2092. Priya 2092. So content is written. Now we have to write the program to read this file in this manner. Okay, so let's do that. So before we did that, if you remember, before doing anything with CSV, we have to import it. CSV, then use with open. I mean, always. What was the file name? Students.csv. We are reading it, that's why we are using R as file. So this should do it. Reader CSV, this is the syntax. Dict reader. There is another way to read a file, you should know that. I'll show you in this lecture. Like there is CSV dot reader and CSV dot dict reader. It is, this one is more preferred, so that's what we are doing. Okay, so for row in reader, print in which form we have to do it. In question, Rudra slash, not slash, this hyphen, then 85 marks. So the row should be like this. Name hyphen row marks. Okay, in this pattern we have to do it. So I think code is complete. Let's see if it is correct. Let's run the program. So without any wasting time, let's run the program. Okay, so as you can see, it is printed in this way. Okay, so like this. So this is what we wanted, right? Yeah. So question number 5 is also complete, easy, simple. Just you have to remember the syntax and not that much of logical, not that much of thinking. Okay, if you know the syntax, if you had solved 10 questions on this topic on file handling, then all the questions are walk in the park kind of thing. Okay, easy. So all the questions are done. You can, if you are first, try all these questions on your own, try to solve them on your own. The answers are already here. Okay, and if you are facing any problem, just revise the notes. Everything is in the notes, nothing is left out. So this was lecture number 10, everybody. Thank you for watching till the end, and I'll meet you in the next lecture of Python programming series by me. Thank you for watching.